Feels like 2024 went by pretty quickly. And in that time, however, I've played a bunch of great games throughout the year, some that I've spoken about on this channel, and some that I haven't really spoken a ton about. However, there are 3 games from last year that, in my mind, stick out particularly because of the fact that they did something so well and were just ultimately some of the best games of 2024. So let's take a look. One of the biggest games that I played of last year was actually Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. And that game did a lot of things that were...
Echoes of Wisdom. Methinks that is a great choice, as it is finally a Zelda game where you are no longer Link saving the damsel in distress. You are now Zelda, a strong female lead, taking the reins and saving Hyrule, and all my female friends and I love it.
I'm gonna ask you this honestly. Have you ever actually spoken to a real girl before?
Wow. I don't know if they're actually girls. I've just met them on a Discord server.
Anyways, and the thing about that game was it changed a lot of the formula of traditional or top-down viewed Zelda games by incorporating the Link's Awakening style world with some of the touches of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. And what I mean by that is it did this in a way where you were able to use items or summon items through the Echo system and creatively explore and creatively tackle different puzzles and different elements of that world just by using general ingenuity and crafting. And that to me was a mix that at first, I'll be completely honest, I was pretty hesitant about. I wasn't sure that this mixture of modern and traditional Zeldas were going to work together that well, but I was pleasantly surprised. And while I was a little frustrated sometimes by how you select your echoes, which seems to be a common complaint throughout the Zelda community, it was a minor thing in the grand scheme of things that to me could be easily ironed out with a simple update if Nintendo would actually consider that. But ultimately, this is an interesting version of Zelda and a different way to approach Zelda than I've ever had in the series, which is a good thing. I'd love to see more Zeldas done in this vein, or another Zelda even starring Zelda herself, as I like the way Grezzo and Nintendo handled this approach to the story and handled this approach to that world. Now, the next game is a game that a lot of people have put a ton of hours into and was one of the main reasons for people to pick up Game Pass last year, and that's Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And
Call of Duty? That is not a real gamer's game. Real gamers play things like Final Fantasy or Sabbath of the Witch, which methinks is a heavily underrated game on Steam.
But isn't that a dating simulator? Anyways, Black Ops 6 did a lot of really cool things, and yes, I know it's more or less of Call of Duty rehashed over and over again, but what I mean is one of the issues I was having with some of the more recent Call of Duties like Modern Warfare 3 was that that game had a lot of issues in terms of its time to kill. I also felt like they stunted a lot of different weapons, which to me just didn't feel that great. However, with Black Ops 6, they revisited the formula and changed the time to kill, but they ultimately improved on the movement system and made it omnidirectional. And while it seems a little over the top in some cases, it felt like the nice balance between some of the more free-flowing Call of Duties like Infinite Warfare and some of the more traditional Black Ops games. So to me, this was a great balance of everything that I love about the Call of Duty series, and in a lot of ways to me felt like a bit of return to form for that game. And I'll just be forward, my opinion of this does extend mostly to multiplayer, as I have not really touched the single player campaign yet. But as far as the multiplayer goes, I think this was one of the best games of 2024 and one of the games that I'm going to continue playing into the new year. So, the last game and probably the most impactful and best game that I played in 2024 was the Silent Hill 2 remake. And that game...
looks like the ex-cucks finally joined the dark side. Yeah.
Well, I hate to break your heart, but I actually played this on PC.
No.
Anyways, and that game to me was something that I actually talked poorly about at the beginning of 2024. I thought it wasn't going to be that great of a release based off of some of the really poorly produced trailers that Sony had released. And I was worried. I figured that this was going to be the final nail on the coffin for the Silent Hill series. And I was glad that I was completely wrong. Bloober Team did not just a phenomenal job of updating and upgrading the graphics from the original Silent Hill 2, but they did a fantastic job of reimagining not just the way the game looks, but also reimagining the combat and even some elements of the story that made it feel even better than the original, which was something I didn't think I was going to be saying about that game. To me, this did a spectacular job of modernizing the series for modern audiences, but also expanding upon some of the horror of that game, and in a lot of ways making it not just scarier, but making it even more emotional with a lot of little touches and some of probably the best details I've ever seen in a video game. So these are my top 3 games of 2024. I know a lot of you guys probably have different opinions from mine. I'd love to hear them in the comment section below.